Brittany Murphy, and I go to Herbert Hoover Middle School. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you were asking me about June.
Yeah. We were just trying to be like really straight and serious for the entire time. We were just going to be like somber and serious, but she was like, no,
and you have a great question. Go on, please.
What's Eminem like? I've never met this guy. He seems... I can't sort of decide.
He's a sweetheart.
A sweetheart?
He really is. He's a good young man. He's a really good man. I swear.
She was no longer among us at just 32. On a Sunday morning in December, collapsed on the bathroom floor of a mansion she'd bought from Britney Spears. Was it cursed? And the official cause of that was pneumonia. The kind of thing your grandmother recovers from with soup and antibiotics. But Brittany Murphy's blood told a different story. A hemoglobin count so low that it was, in the coroner's words, incompatible with life. 5 months later, her evil husband died in the same house, and of the same thing. Her estranged father hired a lab and claimed he found 10 heavy metals in her hair samples. The tabloids screamed murder, documentaries came, and the internet has been arguing about it ever since. And yet, the real scandal of Brittany Murphy isn't how she died. It's how we watched her disappear, slowly and in broad daylight, and mistook it for a makeover. If you only have 30 seconds, here's the bottom line of this video. Brittany Murphy figured out something most of Hollywood never does, that being unforgettable has nothing to do with being conventionally beautiful. She turned her 5'2" frame, her baby voice, those saucer eyes, and a total refusal to pick a lane into a career that stretched from teen comedy to crime noir to animated penguin musicals, and every single frame you couldn't look away. Her secret was life force, pure and undiluted, which is both the easiest and the hardest thing in the world to fake. She never faked it, but she couldn't survive it either. But if you'd like a bit more of an explanation, follow me. Welcome. I'm Kira, and this is your beauty blueprint. I've spent a whole week researching, watching, and editing all things Brittany, to bring you her very essence and share the best of my findings. So what are the ingredients to this particular cocktail of a woman? A girl from New Jersey who told Burt Reynolds she'd be a star at age 5 at a restaurant, completely uninvited. A character actor disguised as a leading lady who could play a paint-huffing runaway. Eminem's Ride or Die, and a noir bombshell in the same breath. A woman the Independent obituary described as jolie laid, that perfectly French idea of beauty that shouldn't work but absolutely, devastatingly does. A voice so breathy and strange that a co-star heard it booming down a hallway and expected to find Ella Fitzgerald, only to see this tiny thing with enormous eyes round the corner. And a style chameleon whose red carpet wardrobe veered from flapper costumes to custom Levi's tuxedos to flippy pink miniskirts, as though she were living inside several decades at once and thoroughly enjoying every single one. And stick around, because by the end of this video I'll even serve us a quick breakdown of what we can learn, very practically speaking, from Brittany Murphy's unique style universe. So settle in, pour yourself something strong and a little sweet, maybe a cosmopolitan. Because it's the early 2000s in our hearts right now, and Brittany would approve. Let's set the stage with a little backstory. Brittany Ann Bertolotti came into the world on November 10, 1977, at Georgia Baptist Hospital in Atlanta. She was a Scorpio, both sun and moon, with Leo rising. In plain terms, she had the chart of someone who could look light while never being light. Her mother, Sharon Murphy, was of Irish and Slovak descent. Her father, Angelo Bertolotti, was very Italian and had a criminal past, racketeering convictions, organized crime connections, and 12 years in prison, and was largely gone from her life by the time she was 3. Sharon changed her daughter's surname to Murphy, so the acting career they both already dreamed of wouldn't carry the weight of father's record. They moved to Edison, New Jersey, and lived modestly, spaghetti every night, clothes from Kmart. Brittany was bullied relentlessly at school. They mocked her height, her clothes, everything that was available to mock when you're the smallest girl in the room and your wardrobe budget is 0. She later said, with a kind of directness that would become her signature, "I was picked on to death in school." But there was this flame in her, stubborn, almost absurd in its confidence. At 5, she walked up to Burt Reynolds and George Segal in a restaurant and introduced herself and told them, matter-of-factly, that she would someday be a star. Incredible. Uncanny, in fact. She enrolled in dance and theater classes around that age and was already doing community productions of Les Miserables by 9. Years later, she'd put it more bluntly, If someone had asked me when I was young what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have said Madonna. I hate to admit it, but I always wanted to be famous. There's a remarkable piece of footage from a country fair in Metuchen, New Jersey, October 1990. 12-year-old Brittany approaches two men with a video camera and asks, "Would you like a children's perspective?"
Yes, I would like a children's perspective.
Great.
What is your name?
Brittany.
Brittany, how are you doing today, Brittany?
Great, how are you?
Very good. You want a job hosting a television show?
Sure.
You seem you have like a good personality. Is there anything you want to say to your mom or anything out there?
Hi, Mom. Hi.
One of them, Carl Sylvester, later recalled, "She had an energy that I'd never found in a child before. She had the expressions, the words, the energy. She had it all." At the end of the clip, she announces,
Hi, my name is Brittany Murphy, and I go to Hoover Middle School. Thank you.
By 12, she was landing TV commercials, Pizza Hut, Skittles. At 13, she convinced Sharon to sell everything they owned and move to Los Angeles. Think about that for a moment. A 13-year-old girl, certain enough about her future to uproot her mother's entire life. She enrolled at John Burroughs High School in Burbank and chased auditions while doing guest spots on Blossom.
Okay, it's between one of two of them, and I really can't decide between either one of them right now, so I need to take both of them. The first one's Michael Bolton.
Boy Meets World, Sister Sister, Frasier, and just about every sitcom with a casting call. She was working all right, but nothing had caught fire yet. Then came Clueless. In 1994, casting director Marcia Ross brought a 17-year-old Brittany in to read for the part of Ty Frasier. Amy Heckerling remembered the moment. "We saw a lot of people for the part of Ty, and I felt like everybody was kind of acting it, as opposed to just feeling it. And when Brittany came in, she was just genuine." Alicia Silverstone walked out of the room and said, "Oh my God, it has to be her." Breckin Meyer, who'd auditioned alongside her, put it best: "If you don't make the movie with her, don't make the movie. She's that great." Brittany didn't think she even had a shot, but she got it anyway. Released in July 1995, Clueless became a sleeper hit, grossing $56 million against a $12 million budget. And Ty, with box-dye red hair, oversized flannels, and this bubbly, bewildered warmth, gave the film its beating heart. Her most devastating line, delivered with pouty-lipped precision after Ty's transformation from outsider to queen bee:
You're a virgin who can't drive.
Silverstone never forgot it. Heckerling compared the moment to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Suddenly, bang, they've taken over the soul. Speaking of Ty's transformation, I designed a Britney-inspired t-shirt just for this video's launch. If you want to wear a little piece of this blueprint, check this one out. And not to forget, we have gathered quite a range there, so please do check that out. They are super soft, shipped to and fro all over our little globe, and I thank everyone who ever got one, and especially whoever reported back on it. It is not only a great way of supporting a channel, but also means the world to me to be able to be a part of your beauty journey. Now, most actors who land a part like Ty spend the next decade trying to replicate it. Brittany did the opposite, of course. At 20, she made her Broadway debut in Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge, opposite Anthony LaPaglia and Allison Janney.
What? You don't like them?
You don't like him?
Yeah, I like them.
Katie.
What, Eddie?
You gonna marry him?
I don't know. We've just been going around, that's all.
The New York Times called her exceptional. That same year, she started voicing Luane Platter on King of the Hill, a role she'd hold for all 13 seasons and 258 episodes. She joked about voice work. You can do it even in your pajamas. Her late 90s output was deliberately scattered, as though she were daring Hollywood to put her in a box. A paint-huffing lesbian in Freeway, a daffy theater kid in the cult mockumentary Drop Dead Gorgeous, and, most powerfully, Daisy Randone in Girl Interrupted, the psychiatric patient who keeps roast chicken carcasses under her bed and delivers a death scene of such raw emotional power that she holds her own against Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie in their very primes. On her approach, she once said, "Sometimes I just know how to do a character, but I don't know why. It's as if you know what the spirit of the person is, though not consciously, and everything else floats into you." That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you know she was truly an artist. Now, stay with me here, because we're about to get into the part of the story where everything shifts. The fame, the romances, the weight loss, and the man who, according to nearly everyone who knew her, slowly dismantled her life from the inside. The early 2000s arrived, and Brittany Murphy became a name everyone knew. Don't Say a Word with Michael Douglas grossed $100 million and earned her a Satellite Award nomination. But the real catalyst was 8 Mile in 2002, where she played Alex Letourneau opposite Eminem in his film debut. The movie made nearly $243 million worldwide. She said afterward, "That changed a lot. That was the difference between people knowing my first and last name as opposed to not." She and Eminem even had an off-screen romance during filming.
Right, and what kind of a fellow is he?
He's actually very funny. I mean, he makes your belly hurt because he makes you laugh so hard. And he's really, really a nice guy. I had a great time.
What now? Was there romance here? Actual, not big screen romance, but you know what I'm saying?
Why, Dave, I'd never kiss and tell.
Well, no, okay, but you don't need to. But...
She dated Ashton Kutcher after they met on the set of Just Married. Director Sean Levy recalled them laughing constantly from the moment they met, but that relationship ended too, and the breakup put her squarely in the tabloid crosshairs. There were 2 more engagements: talent manager Jeff Quatinetz in 2004, production assistant Joe Macaluso in 2005, both brief, both fizzling, and then came Murphy-Monjack. Simon was a British screenwriter with thin credits, a B-movie directing debut, and a long, baroque history of fraud, warrants for credit card fraud in Virginia, a nearly $500,000 lawsuit from Coates Bank, evictions from 4 homes, 9 days in jail for an expired visa, 2 secret children with other women. Filmmaker Alison Burnett met him at a dinner party where Murphy-Monjack claimed to be a billionaire who had dated Elle Macpherson and Madonna, owned a collection of Ferraris, and was dying of brain cancer until he purchased a treatment derived from shark fins. Every word was a lie, obviously. His own mother called him economical with the truth, which documentary director Cynthia Hill dryly noted was a very sophisticated way to say he was a liar. They married in 2007, 4 months after they reportedly started dating. Friends staged an intervention with documentation of his criminal history. It failed though. King of the Hill co-star Kathy Najimy said Brittany Murphy seemed hypnotized. He was making all her decisions. He was clearly getting her money. According to the HBO documentary, Monjack became her agent, her accountant, her lawyer, her gatekeeper, and even her makeup artist. Her publicist alleged he burned through $3 million of her money in just 3 years. Her friend Lisa Riefel said simply, "Simon took her away. He made sure no one could get to her." And here's where the body enters the story in a way that still stings. In Clueless, Murphy was curvy. By the early 2000s, she'd slimmed down dramatically and gone blonde. The catalyst was a single sentence from someone powerful in Hollywood. She told Interview magazine, "Someone very important in Hollywood said that I wasn't fuckable enough. He said I was huggable but not fuckable. So I put some extensions in my hair and that made the difference." Think about that for a moment, please. Think about what it takes to reshape your body, because some man told you your value was insufficient. I wonder if that was Epstein.
Well, Bob and Harvey Weinstein are helping support MFAR, which is a very, very important organization. We're raising money this evening.
Kathy Najimy said Brittany had been told that if she wanted to be considered a leading lady, she had to lose weight, a lot of weight. Heckerling reflected, with audible sadness, "I always missed the way that she looked when we were shooting." I just have to say, I am glad the Epstein files are out now, and we are ripe to dismantle the belief that, to be beautiful, a woman must look like a baby. There's much more power we the women hold that's much more potent than babiness. If you're still here, and thank you genuinely for being here, please take a tiny second and hit like and subscribe if this kind of video is your thing. And if you want even more, we've got members-only podcast episodes where I go further than the main videos allow. And to those of you who already are, you know I adore you. Now, we need to talk about the morning of December 20, 2009. But first, let me tell you what made Brittany Murphy irreplaceable, and I mean that word literally. Roger Ebert, the great critic Roger Ebert, was perhaps her most eloquent champion. He wrote, "She has a similar ability to draw our eyes to her segment of the screen, even when the action is ostensibly elsewhere. She does this not with sex appeal, but with life force." Life force, that's the word. Not beauty, not talent, not charisma, though she had all 3, but something more elemental. Murphy stood 5'2", with enormous eyes, and a breathy, high-pitched voice that defied every rule of what a leading lady was supposed to sound like. The Independent called her quality Jolly Light, that French term for beauty that is unconventional, even strange, but irresistible. Nathan Rabin praised her unconventional good looks, appealing awkwardness, and off-kilter presence. She was, as Dazed magazine put it, not pretty enough to be a female protagonist, in an era in which lithe and ethereal Gwyneth Paltrow and Kirsten Dunst were the it girls. And yet, audiences could not stop watching her. She was a modern Clara Bow, and Brittany would have loved that comparison. "I love Clara Bow," she once said. "She was the original it girl. She really cinematically changed things by showing natural emotions within that heightened reality." That's exactly what Murphy did. She brought the mess and warmth of real feeling into genres that usually filed those qualities down to nothing. "I've never formally trained in acting, so I'm very instinctual and visceral with decisions," she said. And she refused to take any of it too seriously. "I don't even take myself seriously, so how could I possibly take Hollywood seriously?" Her filmography reads like a blueprint for Y2K movie culture. Clueless to Girl Interrupted, to 8 Mile, to Uptown Girls, to Sin City. She was the only actor who appeared in all 3 stories of Rodriguez's noir anthology, by the way. She voiced Gloria in Happy Feet and said the animated penguin was the most like her out of all the characters she had played. Her single with DJ Paul Oakenfold, Faster Kill Pussycat, hit #1 on Billboard's Hot Dance Club play chart. She was a genuine singer. She belted karaoke, sang at the top of her lungs before each take to get into character, and was part of a secret musical group called the Blue Rose Harlots with Brad Renfro and Jordan Bridges, performing jazz numbers while reclining across a piano. Her co-star Karem Maliki Sanchez offered a haunting thought. Lady Gaga maybe figured out a record that Brittany Murphy might have made, but also Brittany had this incredibly sultry, breathy sound. It could have been an intimate record, like Joni Mitchell. Her final notable lead was The Ramen Girl in 2008. She told the director she'd only ever been cast to be either cute or crazy. They made a shorthand. C1 was cute, C2 was crazy. She wanted to be something else entirely, but she never quite got the chance. At 7:30 a.m. on December 20, 2009, Brittany complained of abdominal pain and went to the bathroom. 30 minutes later, Sharon opened the door and found her daughter unconscious on the floor. Firefighters came. She was taken to Cedars-Sinai and pronounced dead at 10:04 a.m. after going into cardiac arrest. She was just 32 years old. The coroner ruled the death accidental. Primary cause, pneumonia. Contributing factors, severe iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxication. Hydrocodone, acetaminophen, antihistamines. The ingredients of a woman self-medicating through a flu she should have seen a doctor for. No alcohol, no illegal drugs. Dr. Lisa Scheinin, the deputy medical examiner, said Murphy's hemoglobin was at 3.0, while normal is 12 to 16. All she needed was to have gone to a doctor, who would probably have sent her immediately for blood transfusions. She was buried on Christmas Eve at Forest Lawn Memorial Park. 5 months later, Sharon found Monjack unconscious in the master bedroom of the same house. He was 40, cause of death, acute pneumonia and severe anemia, nearly identical. Her father pushed a poisoning theory. A lab found heavy metals in her hair. The forensic toxicology community called the findings ridiculous. Hair dye alone could produce those readings. The conspiracy theories, however tempting they are, don't hold. The simpler, more terrible truth is that a woman whose body was failing needed a doctor, and no one took her to one. The 2021 HBO documentary, What Happened? Brittany Murphy, directed by Cynthia Hill and produced by Jason Blum, presented Monjack as a pathological liar who systematically isolated her, controlled her finances, encouraged dangerous weight loss, and prevented her from getting medical care. Critics largely panned the series, 19% on Rotten Tomatoes, calling it exploitative. But it did something useful. It placed her story alongside the Britney Spears conservatorship revelations and Paris Hilton's abuse allegations, part of a broader reckoning with how we treated young women in the early 2000s. Times' Judy Berman said, "Slowly but surely we're looking back at the tragic it girls of the aughts and finding out how little we actually knew, or sadly cared, about the people they were." Please do drop a comment below and tell me, what was your first Brittany Murphy impression? I genuinely want to know. Alright, as promised, the practical beauty breakdown. Because Brittany Murphy's look is absolutely something you can learn from, and it has far less to do with products than you might think. First, the eyes. Murphy's enormous, expressive eyes were her dominant feature, and she knew it. She kept her brows softly groomed, never too thin, never too heavy, and let her eyes do the talking. If you're taking one thing from her blueprint, it's this. Find your own dominant feature and don't compete with it. Everything else should support the thing that makes people remember your face. Second, the transformative power of hair color. She went from box dye auburn in Clueless to platinum blonde in Sin City to warm honey in Uptown Girls. Each shift completely reinvented her. She said it herself, if you can't change your surroundings, at least change your hair color. The lesson isn't to copy any one of her shades, it's to understand that hair color is the single most powerful tool of self-reinvention available to you, and most people use it far too timidly. I have just dyed my hair black for that reason. Third, embrace the jolie laide. Murphy was not the prettiest woman in any room she walked into by conventional standards, and she knew that too. What she had was specificity. The baby voice, the wide eyes, the petite yet curvy frame, none of it matched the leading lady template of her era. She didn't sand down the edges. Not at first anyway. She made them the whole point. The takeaway, stop trying to look like a more polished version of someone else and start amplifying whatever it is about you that doesn't match the template. That's where magnetism lives. Fourth, she treated fashion as play, not armor. If your wardrobe feels like a uniform, Brittany Murphy is the woman telling you from across the decades to mess it up a little. Mix eras, mix moods, mix high and low. She was the first celebrity spokesmodel for Jordache jeans, shot by Patrick DeMarchelier. And she brought the same irreverence to that campaign that she brought to everything. Fifth, stay away from evil-meaning men. That was the one thing that ruined her powerful spirit. Let's remember that. We know too much now to ignore it. So what does Brittany Murphy leave us with? She said, I think the key to happiness is allowing ourselves to not feel bad or guilty for feeling it, and letting it be contagious. She said, I was always told, you'll never be in movies, you're not talented enough, you're not pretty enough. It hurt, but it was ammunition, fuel for my fire. The Y2K nostalgia wave has brought her back. Uptown Girls clips go viral on TikTok, makeup artists recreate her looks, a Clueless musical opened on the West End. But what's really happened is something more profound. A generation of women looked back and realized that the girl who didn't fit the mold, the one who was too short, too strange, too breathy, too much, was the one they never forgot. That's the real blueprint. Not her lipstick shade or her hair color, though those things are fun too. It's the almost reckless insistence on being exactly who you are, in a world that will spend considerable energy demanding you to be someone else. Brittany Murphy had life force. You have it too. Use it well before anyone tells you it needs to be different. I've queued up the next chapter for you here. I'll see you soon. Love, Kira. Now go create your own blueprint.
Did you have a good time?